Switch 2 games being held back? On purpose? Today on KaneLogic, we're breaking down Polygon's report on Nintendo's super selective Switch 2 development kits, and why so many studios say they still can't get one. What triggered the conversation? The latest wave of reports comes from Digital Foundry's DF Direct Weekly, where staff said multiple developers they spoke with at Gamescom reported they still can't get Switch 2 dev kits. This isn't limited to small teams. Some larger studios are affected too. According to those developers, Nintendo has been unusually selective or slow about handing out dev kits, to the point that some teams say they were told to ship on the original Switch and rely on Switch 2's backward compatibility instead of building native Switch 2 versions right now. These reports are arriving nearly 3 months after the console's release. Switch 2 launched June 5, 2025, and studios, big and small, are still struggling to obtain hardware. GameSpot characterizes kits as somewhat rare, even 2 months post-launch. Who has kits and who doesn't? Developers describe weird inclusions and weird exclusions. A few indies, example, Hello Games with No Man's Sky, reportedly have kits, while some AAA teams do not. An allocation pattern that even Digital Foundry says it doesn't really understand. Impact on games right now. Because many projects are still targeting Switch 1 with the expectation they'll run via backward compatibility on Switch 2, performance and features can vary widely across titles. Commentators pointed to examples like Ninja Gaiden Ragebound running at 30 FPS on Switch 2 without a dedicated Switch 2 build, contrasted with stronger showings like Final Fantasy VII Remake's Switch 2 version. On the flip side, Elden Ring has drawn scrutiny in handheld mode. These examples are used to illustrate the uneven state of current releases rather than to generalize across all games. Reports don't establish a definitive cause, whether strategic gatekeeping, supply limits, or simple caution, but they agree on the outcome. Access is constrained and unpredictable. As of the latest coverage, Nintendo hadn't commented publicly to clarify its approach. Why it matters. Fewer native Switch 2 builds in the near term. If teams can't get hardware, they're less likely to optimize for new features or push visuals performance that take full advantage of Switch 2. That slows the ramp-up of true next-gen titles. Inconsistent player experience. Backward compatibility can keep libraries accessible, but without native builds, some games won't show Switch 2's best form right away. Third-party relations and timelines. The kit bottleneck can delay ports, patches, and announcements, especially from studios that weren't prioritized for early access. The bottom line, the subject of the article is that Nintendo's unusually tight and somewhat opaque distribution of Switch 2 dev kits has left many developers, indie and AAA alike, without access months after launch. Some studios say they've been nudged to ship on Switch 1 and rely on backward compatibility, producing a transitional period where native Switch 2 releases are fewer and performance across titles varies. Nintendo hasn't publicly explained the policy, and developers, as well as analysts, are openly questioning the strategy. Some viewers are now questioning the Nintendo Switch 2's underlying hardware following reports of Elden Ring Tarnished Edition performing poorly in handheld mode. However, this may simply be an optimization issue, rather than a limitation of the system itself. We'll have to see whether upcoming updates address the problem. I'll share any new information as it becomes available, so please like, share, and subscribe to KaneLogic, and drop a comment with your thoughts on the situation.